recognizing what you're feeling and accepting that you are the one creating that feeling is so powerful. Welcome to the Connect Method Parenting Podcast, where correction is out, connection is in, and your kids want to listen to you. I'm Andy Martineau, creator of Connect Method Parenting, here to help you stay calm, confident, and connected no matter what. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast, where we figure out how to become the most remarkable humans and parents ever. And that doesn't mean we're perfect, because perfect does not exist. It just means that we're progressing, that we're growing, that we're evolving. And that's why today's conversation is so important, because one of the most transformative things for me as a human and as a parent was having the experience of people really, really disliking me. I could even go as far as saying hating me. And I don't say that lightly, because at the time I hated the fact that there were people that felt this way about me, because I'm a very likable person. That's what I thought up to this point. People like me. I'd never had anybody tell me that they didn't like me, or if they did, I didn't know about it. So when I had this experience with these few people who made it abundantly clear, at least that's how my brain filtered what they were doing and saying in the moment, I was destroyed. I was destroyed by it. And it was through the process of untangling myself from this web of feeling utterly destroyed, defeated, hopeless, unworthy, felt like I was a terrible person, because these were good people. And if they felt this way about me, then I must not be a good person. Going through the process of unraveling this allowed me to get to the place where I am right now, which is having the most incredible year of my life, feeling like I'm ready to take my life to the next level. I feel more loving, more compassionate, more caring. It allowed me to get to a place where I'm feeling ready to go to that next level, not afraid of what other people might think or say, and loving people and feeling compassion towards people, regardless of what they think or what they say or what they do, at such a higher level. So that's why we need to talk about this today, because that's what I want for all of us. Because as parents who I know want to take their life to the next level, I know want to take their parenting to the next level, you want to love your kids and have so much compassion, even if they're telling you they hate your guts, they don't like what you're doing, they're having the tantrum. You want to show up as the most kind, loving version of yourself. So we need to show up in those situations, have the capacity, the emotional capacity to show up in those situations as the most compassionate, loving, regulated person. And going through the experience of feeling someone not care for me at all, not like me, has helped me figure out, how do I love someone and myself through experiences like that? Because if someone has a problem with me, I want to inspect myself fully and take 100% ownership for anything that I have done that may have contributed to that and that I might see as something I want to fix. But I also want to give them space to just have whatever opinions they want without making it a problem for me. So this applies to parenting. It applies to our whole life. We've got to have this conversation, because how we do anything is how we do everything. So did I get you properly hyped up for what to do when somebody hates you? I hope so. I know you probably didn't realize that this is the topic you've been waiting for and needing me to record for you. Now, some of you might be fortunate enough to have never experienced real hatred from someone. And if that's you, congratulations. But for the rest of us mere mortals, this podcast is for us, because most of us have dealt with someone who doesn't care for us. Maybe you're dealing with a teenager who seems to resent you, or a 10-year-old who's shouting at you in anger. Maybe you have a neighbor that you just can't see eye to eye with, or maybe someone has outright told you they hate you, or at the very least made it abundantly clear that they don't really like you. Here's the thing. It might not always be full-blown hatred. Maybe it's just dislike or indifference. And I'm intentionally using the word hate. It's a strong word, but if we can go to worst case scenario, which to me is someone hating me, then I can totally handle it when someone simply dislikes me. So whether someone hates you, dislikes you, doesn't care for you, or just isn't your biggest fan, you're going to be able to apply everything we talk about today to that situation to make your life amazing and to be free from the opinions of other people. One of the most valuable lessons I've learned is that not everybody is going to like me, and that's okay. Because here's the truth. We're never going to be able to make everyone happy. You might be loud and outgoing and the life of the party, and for some people, they are going to love that. Or you might be the kind, reserved one who is trying to take everyone's feelings into consideration, and there's going to be people who love that. But there's also going to be people who hate that, who don't like the loud life of the party, who think that the quiet, reserved person isn't loud enough, doesn't like everybody because they're so quiet. It doesn't matter who we are, because no matter what, there's going to be someone who sees life differently, who disagrees with how you're showing up in the world, who's going to dislike your decisions. So there is no escaping someone not liking you. So I hope we can all agree on that. If not, think about it. I used to think that I could get everyone to like me. And you know what? It just made me and everyone miserable. So stop trying to get everyone to like you, or think it's a problem if somebody doesn't like you. You'll be so much more likable if you do, if you let go of thinking everyone should like you. I remember trying to bend myself into a pretzel to try to get a few different women who had been my dearest, closest friends at one point in my life, who then had decided they didn't like me, to like me again. It was exhausting. It never worked. I'm sure part of it was the fact that I was showing up very graspy. I was trying to get them to like me. I was trying to do all the right things. Didn't they see I was a likable person? And I don't think there was anything, even if I hadn't been less graspy, which would have felt better. I mean, if I had felt more confident in myself, I would have felt better. But I doubt that would have changed their mind. So I wasted years of my life letting them live rent-free in my brain because I was trying so hard to get them to like me. Crazy, crazy experience. I learned so much from it. And 10 years ago, I would have felt mortified to share this story because I still made it mean that because they didn't like me, there was something wrong with me. But now I know this experience had really very little to do with me. There are things I reflected back and I learned about myself and I said, oh, I'm taking full ownership for that and I'm improving that part of me. So I'm not saying I was perfect in the situation at all, but ultimately it had really very little to do with me. We were just going in different directions in our life. I see it so clearly now. And I think no matter what, the relationship was bound to end. It had served its purpose. It had been amazing. And then it was over. It completed its purpose. And I can say that now. I'm so proud of what I learned and how I handled myself and who I was able to grow into because of the experience. It was one of the best experiences of my life. One of the most challenging experiences of my life and one of the best experiences of my life. And I would not be who I am today without it. The things I learned from having someone, or there were a couple of people, a couple different situations, a couple different people, but having someone really voice their dislike in me was really interesting. So grateful for the experience, sending out so much love for these women. I won't say their names, but I'm thinking about them and I genuinely feel love for the experience. It was exactly what I needed. And I think that's how life works. We have a desire to learn something. Perhaps we want to love ourselves no matter what. And then a situation comes up where someone starts not liking you, even hating you. It drops into your lap. And it's like there's this plan we all signed up for. And when we're ready for the next level of growth, we get enrolled in this life course and then the perfect things start happening. And it might feel awful at the time, but because we want to become the best version of ourselves, we need something to struggle through so we can learn and grow. Discomfort is part of the law of growth. It's part of it. It has to happen. So we have the desire to become more loving and kind, and boom, this experience happens where a couple of my dearest friends dropped me like a bad habit. At the time, felt like the worst thing that could ever happen. But now I know it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me, because without it, I would not have learned how to love someone even when they're saying they don't like me, even when they're pushing back. It's helped me so much in my parenting, so much in my life. So let's dive in and get a little experiential, shall we? So let's say that there is someone out in the world that currently hates you. And how do we know they hate you? That's the first important thing that we've got to figure out. We know they hate you if they've said the words. So in order for us to classify that someone hates you, in order for us to make it a fact, for it to be able to go into the situation line in the STEAR, which has to have it be a fact, means that they would have had to have told you in no uncertain terms that they hate you. That's the only way we can know for a fact that someone hates us. If they haven't said those words, it's not a fact. It's you projecting your conclusion about something they did or didn't do, and then having thoughts and interpretations of what they did, and then deciding that they hate you. So withstanding they actually spoke the words to you, it's simply your thought about the other person. But for the sake of this conversation we're having, we are going to say that this person actually said the words, I hate you, which would make it a fact. And this might cause you to be confused and think, why do they think this? But from their point of view, if they say those words, then we're going to take them for face value. So I want you to acknowledge first and foremost that Someone telling you that they hate you is a fact, and we can put it in the situation line. So that would be the first line. But if it was your interpretation of them not inviting you to something or saying something sarcastic or rude, that wouldn't be a fact. Got it? We're not going to go into all the nuances of that, but I want to make that abundantly clear. So situations are neutral. Now, I know many of you will say, how can you say that? This is such a painful experience to have someone say that to you. It's so violent. It's so horrible. And I know that our nervous systems might think that. But let's pause that for just a minute to capitalize on the opportunity we have here to be completely free from another person's words or experiences of the world. Because if we can say, wait, they just said words to me. It's not a horrible experience until I interpret it that way. It's neutral. Someone telling me that they hate me is neutral until I make it mean something, okay? So that's the first thing. It's a circumstance and it's neutral. And here's how I know the words in and of themselves are neutral. Because someone might say they hate you, but if you're walking down the streets in New York City and some random person who you don't know shouts this out at you, it's not going to affect you the same way as if it came from someone you deeply care about, right? You might even blow it off. You might say, crazy person. And the reason we know this is because the words themselves are neutral. And I love this because when we have this awareness, oh, they're just words. And I get to decide what I think or believe about them. And I might choose to think something, hurtful. I might feel hurtful. I might choose to think that, or I might choose to blow them off. But either way, it allows me to have my agency, my freedom to interact with those words in different ways, which is something we all want. The ability to show up the way we want to show up, regardless of how someone else is showing up. So random person in New York City, no impact. Close friend, high impact, potentially. And that's because how we interpret the situation, the meaning we put on the words. So they're words, they're neutral, and then there's the meaning I put on them. So that's the first thing to understand. The second thing that you need to know is that people are allowed to feel and say whatever they want. If you've been listening to the podcast for a while, or you've worked with me in League, or you've done a pivot, you've heard me talk about this before. Other people, and this includes our children, you all, it really does, are allowed the right, the freedom to think whatever they want, to feel whatever they want, to hate whatever they want. And we cannot stop them. It's not one of our controllables. Now with our kids, we don't need to relinquish our role as parent to try to help influence them and impact them, to help them have more love and compassion towards things they might say they hate. But ultimately, it's their choice. They're allowed to say whatever they want to say or do whatever they end up wanting to do. That is part of their inherent right as a human. They have that freedom. And one of the hardest things for many people to resist is the urge to control someone who hates them. We want to fix it. We want to change it. We want them to feel differently. We want them to act differently. We want to justify ourselves, hoping that it will shift the way they feel. But if you can remember that their hate is just a fact, it's a situation, it's neutral, it's their thoughts about you, and that they are fully allowed to feel and think however they want to feel and think. It allows us to show up so differently. If you want to impact and influence your kids, release the need to control them or make them different. Understand them. What's going on that's causing them to think or feel this way? If you feel like it's a problem or you want to direct them in a different way, understand them first. Don't try to just fix them. Nothing's broken. It's just an indication of something that's going on. Because as human beings, we really do have the right, the freedom, the agency to like or dislike, to hate or love whatever we want. And when we accept that, it frees you from the need to change them or the need to prove that they're wrong, to convince them that, hey, I'm doing good stuff. You need to not dislike what I'm doing. I'm really trying to help you out. You can let go of all of that, which letting go of that lets go of the fight, and then peace can begin. Those two things alone, knowing that the words that they say are neutral and that people have the freedom and the ability to act and feel the way they want to, just those two things can bring so much relief if we're willing to accept them. When someone has said they don't like you or they hate you, or if you feel like someone's done something that makes you think that they don't like you, ask yourself this really important question. What am I making it mean? Because so many of us take it personally. I know I did. So personally. If someone says they don't like you, they hate you, they think you're making terrible decisions, we might interpret it as, I must be a terrible person. I did something horribly wrong. I'm unworthy. We attach this meaning to their words in a way that causes unnecessary pain. So if you're dealing with this right now, take a step back and ask yourself, when someone says they hate me, they dislike me, they don't like what I'm doing, what am I making it mean about me? And this question alone can shift so many things for you. Now, when you decide to make how someone else feels about you mean something about you, you're going to be in a lot of pain. If you think your child doesn't like you and you make it mean you're a terrible parent, or you get frustrated and think, how dare they think that about me? How do these thoughts impact your parenting? Now, here's what I want you to remember. Someone else's feelings, even their hate, is all about them, not you. And how do we know this? Well, we know it because thoughts create emotions. Their thoughts, not yours, are what's generating their hate. In this case, it's their thoughts about you. And what do we often do in response? We try to change their thoughts, hoping it will change their feelings so we don't have to feel hurt. And that's exhausting. We think, I need to convince them to see me differently. I need to convince them that bedtime's good. I need to convince them that I'm not trying to ruin their life. I need to convince them that having boundaries around their phone is good. I need to change their mind so they see it from my point of view so they don't hate me. Then I'm going to feel better. Then they're going to feel better. But here's what I want to offer you. You don't have to change their thoughts. You don't have to change their feelings. All you have to do is shift your own thoughts and feelings. That's where your power is. That's where things start to change. We become the change we want to see in the world, and it trickles out. So let's do a steer on this, okay? We're going to start with the S line, the situation line, which needs to be the fact. So let's say that Jane said that she hates you. So we can put that in the situation line. Then I would go to the thought line, which is where my thought about Jane saying she hates me would go. So my thought about Jane's statement also, by the way, answers the question, what am I making Jane's words mean about me? Let's say I'm making her words mean I'm not a good person, that there is something horribly wrong with me, and I feel terrible and awful about myself and unworthy. So in the thought line, I write one of those thoughts. There's something horribly wrong with me, which would go right in the next line. So the S is the situation. Then we have the thought, something's horribly wrong with me. Now we have the emotion. Because as soon as I think there's something horribly wrong with me, I'm going to start feeling something. It could be shame, hopelessness, unworthy. We all have a different concoction of emotions that come up depending on what we think about things and how we interpret things. So let's say that for the thought, there's something horribly wrong with me, I realized that it was shame that came up. That's the emotion that would come up for me. That's the emotion that came up in the moment when this person said this hypothetically to me. And that thought and emotion would fuel my actions. So in this example, I'm thinking there's something horribly wrong with me. I'm feeling shame. I'm spiraling in shame. I'm sending the weird graspy texts. I'm laying in bed feeling horrible. I'm snapping at my kids. So those are the actions I could potentially take if I was going through this steer, if this was my life, my experience of her saying those words. And all of those things, spiraling in bed, sending weird graspy texts, snapping at my kids, will all go in the action line. And then the result of all of that, of my thinking, of my emotion I'm feeling, of my actions I'm taking, turn into the result of my life, which is I'm the one acting hateful towards myself, towards my kids. So look at it. What are you making it mean? Can you instead make Jane's words mean Jane is making a choice to say those words? Jane is having thoughts about me that are hurting her. That turns everything around. And we can use it with our kids. My kid is struggling right now. They're saying words. They're feeling emotions that are hurting themselves. They're not seeing the world right. This is really, really good for me to see. We can turn it around like that. We can make it mean something totally different. Hate is one of those emotions that only affects the person having the hateful thoughts. So if Jane says, I hate you, I don't feel hate. She does. I might feel upset. I might feel sad. I might feel hurt, but the hate stays with her. Hate doesn't feel good for anyone. But unless I hate her back, I'm not the one feeling it. She is. So a lot of people believe that when someone feels a strong emotion towards us, we somehow absorb it, that their hate gets onto us, but that's not how it works. Someone might say, I'm definitely experiencing their hate, but you're not. It's impossible. You can hear their words. You can interpret their actions, but what you're actually feeling is coming from your thoughts about it, your interpretation about it, not their emotions. You don't experience their hate. You experience the feelings your mind is creating in response to their hate. And that distinction changes everything. Inevitably, someone will ask me, you might be thinking this yourself right now, but what about energy? What about the energy of their emotions? You can feel it when they walk in the room. Great question. And there's an important distinction to make because there is such a thing as mirror neurons. Essentially, your mirror neurons help you understand and connect with other people. So for example, if you watch someone smile, your mirror neurons fire as if you're smiling. Or if you watch someone in pain, your mirror neurons react as if you're experiencing the pain, even though you're not. They simply help us understand emotions by mirroring the feelings of others. So this is at play. This is why emotions are contagious. When someone is laughing, you feel a pull to laugh. Mirror neurons explain why we sense what other people feel, even though we're not actually experiencing it ourselves. So we can sense what someone else is feeling. We can pick up on their frustration or their sadness or their anger, but sensing an emotion is not the same as experiencing it. So for example, you might walk into a room and immediately recognize that someone is clearly angry. That doesn't mean you feel their anger. It means you become aware of their emotional state. Be very clear about this. Their emotions belong to them. Your emotions belong to you. So even if someone is directing their hate towards you, even if they're vocal about it, you never experience their hate firsthand. What you feel comes from your thoughts about their words and actions. So next time you sense someone's negative energy, their negative emotions, remind yourself, I don't absorb their emotions. I create my own. I'm sensing what they're feeling, but that's not something I have to feel. I have awareness, and I also have the ability to create my own emotions. Okay, so after asking yourself, what am I making this mean? The next important question is, how do I feel? It's crucial to separate your emotions from their emotions. If the other person is feeling hate or frustration or upset, or they're mad at you, they don't like you, take a moment to check in with yourself. Am I feeling hate, frustration, irritation towards them? Am I feeling compassion? Am I feeling defensive, upset, angry in response to how they're showing up? I want you to acknowledge your emotions and own them. Recognizing what you're feeling and accepting that you are the one creating that feeling is so powerful. It does two really important things. It's going to help you have a sense of freedom and control over your emotions, slow you down. You're going to become the watcher of them. You're going to be able to create new ways of showing up when someone's presenting you with hate or frustration or irritation instead of just reacting to it. So it allows you to start moving towards that, shifting your back into your control. It also reinforces that you, not them, but you are the creator of your feelings, which is so good. It helps you understand yourself better, that you can create your emotions. And as a parent, this is so important, because if our kids are throwing a fit, if they're saying they don't like our rule, if they're saying, I hate you, mom, or I don't like what you're doing, having this awareness changes everything. Remember, your feelings always come from you, from your thoughts, not from someone else's actions or emotions. So if you catch yourself thinking, I feel this way because of Jane's hate, or because of my child's tantrum, or because of their bad attitude, pause and do some inquiry. Is that true? No. Jane doesn't control my emotions. My child doesn't control my emotions. Their emotions don't need to negatively affect me. Only my thoughts about them affect me. The key is to recognize the thought causing your emotion. Ask yourself, what am I making their words or their behavior or their attitude mean? Once you see that your feelings stem from your own thinking, you're going to regain control. Now, one of the hardest challenges is resisting the urge to change how someone else feels. Again, you don't like the words Jane said, I hate you. You don't like the tantrum that your child's throwing, and you want to fix it. But before you even consider having that conversation, you've got to first acknowledge your emotions. So let's say you decided to have a conversation with this hypothetical friend, Jane, who said she hated you. Make sure you're coming from a place of clarity and emotional strength, not reaction. And same thing with our kids. If you decide you want to talk to your child about how they behaved or how they handled a situation or with the words they said, make sure you're coming from a place of clarity and emotional strength, not reaction. If you approach a conversation from a place of desperation or fear, embarrassment, defensiveness, trying to prove that you're right, that they've come to the wrong conclusion, that they need to change their ideas of you, the outcome will be completely different than if you come from self-compassion and understanding. Now, I'm not aware of anybody who currently hates me. I can't say for sure. Haven't had anybody tell me that, but it is possible. And you know what? If that's the case, if someone hates me, I get it. because sometimes I don't like me either. Sometimes I hate myself. And when I remind myself of that, it actually makes me laugh a little bit because I can understand, I can relate. I don't want to stay in a place of hating myself, but knowing that all of us have judgmental thoughts about ourselves and other people that we are aware of, that we're trying to change, that we're trying to transform is really helpful, because then I can take a step further. I can remind myself that their feelings come from their thoughts about me, not from me. So I try to see myself from their point of view, from their perspective. And I ask myself, what thoughts might they be having? Why would they be thinking about me in this way? How are they interpreting me through this lens that's creating so much negativity for themselves? And when I do that, something shifts. I'm able to access compassion. Now, I know for some of you that might sound like a stretch. If you're resisting, you might be thinking, but wait, if someone hates me, I'm supposed to feel compassion towards them? But if you do this work long enough, you start to realize something. Hating feels awful. And I'll include resisting, being irritated, frustrated, agitated. All of it feels awful. Feeling defensive feels awful. It's heavy. It's painful. It sits in your body like poison. And when you truly understand that, it becomes so much easier to feel compassion for that person who's holding on to their hate or their frustration or their irritation, who's aiming it directly at you. This is the same foundational work that we do to create unconditional love, because unconditional love is as much for you as it is for the world, because it feels so good. I want to feel unconditional love for everyone because I want to feel the peace that comes with it. And I want to feel that way about other people. So what if we choose to love ourselves because it feels good? What if we choose to let go of hate or frustration or resistance to someone else who doesn't like us because it feels so much better? When we love, we allow ourselves to feel good most of the time. And when we see someone else who's stuck in hate or frustration, using their reasoning to justify staying in the frustration and the upset, we can feel so much compassion instead of reacting with more frustration or hate. Because let's be honest, feeling hate, feeling anger, not liking someone, there's no upside. Now, some people might argue, but what about taking action? Shouldn't we hate violence? Shouldn't we hate people who spread hate? But think about it. Hating the haters just creates more hate. It doesn't solve anything. It doesn't protect you, even though it feels like it does. It doesn't help you, even though it gives you this illusion of strength. Now, if you're in a place of deep despair and hate feels like a step up, or it fuels you with enough energy to keep moving, then maybe that's a temporary step in the right direction. But staying in hate, it only breeds more negativity. And when someone hates you, responding with more hate just multiplies it. It doesn't offer relief. It doesn't offer peace. It doesn't offer a way forward. So whenever I face hate, I ask myself, do I want to double the feeling or do I want to choose love? I'll be honest. My gut reaction isn't always love. It might be defensiveness or resistance, but neither of those feel very good. They feel tight. They feel uncomfortable. They feel heavy. And when I feel that tightness, that uncomfortableness, that heaviness, it's my signal to pause and to relax and to check my thoughts and to find my way back to peace, because love feels better. And it's always the answer I want to choose. Other people's hate never has to affect you. Your kid's resistance, your kid's temper tantrums, your kid saying that you're the worst mom in the world, it never has to affect you unless you let it. When you learn to hold your emotional state steady, no matter what's happening around you, when you can stay compassionate and firm when you have to set that limit, even though you know your child is going to hate it, and you can stay in this emotional steady state no matter what other people say or how they feel about you or how they act towards you, that's when you've truly reached emotional maturity. And that's when you reclaim your freedom, your power, your agency. I said this at the beginning of the episode, but I want to say it again to bring this home as we wrap up this conversation. When you step into the world, some people won't like you. Some may even hate you. You won't be everyone's cup of tea. You won't be everyone's preference. People aren't going to like you, and that's okay. If we can accept that truth, you're going to be free to fully be yourself. For parents, this is so important. There will be moments when your child doesn't like you, when they've had a boundary set You've had to say no. You've had to take their phone away, set a firm curfew, not let them have dessert before dinner. And they might even say, Mom, I don't like you. You're being so mean. I hate you. But here's the thing. The less you fear being disliked, the more freely you'll show up as your best self, which will change the way you parent and the way you're able to show up for your child when they are completely dysregulated. You'll be able to set a compassionate limit with firmness. You'll be able to speak your mind in a way of respect. You'll stop diluting who you are. You'll stop apologizing for being you. When I talk about people hating you, I don't just mean when you make a mistake or you do something wrong. You might love the limit you've set for your child. You might love the decision you made, but it doesn't mean other people are going to like it. People might not like you simply because you're showing up in life fully and unapologetically as you, no matter what, even when it makes other people uncomfortable, which could look like telling the truth, even though you know people won't like what you say, holding a firm boundary, even when you know your child is going to hate it, parenting in a way that aligns with your values, even when someone else might criticize your choices, choosing connection over control, even when it's different from how you were raised, taking a stand for what you believe in, even if it invites criticism. The people who show up in the world who have made the biggest impact, people like Martin Luther King Jr., Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, all had haters. And it wasn't because they necessarily did anything wrong. I'm not saying they were perfect people, but it was more because they refused to shrink. And those haters, they mean nothing about you, just like they didn't mean anything about those great men and women that we revere. Having people push against you, having your kids push against you, doesn't make you less. It means you're standing for something. Because the more people have an opinion about you, whether it's positive or negative, the more proof that you are fully showing up in the world. So the next time someone tells you they don't like you, or heaven forbid they hate you, remember, it only means something if you let it. It's a situation, it's neutral, it's something that happened. And ask yourself, what am I making this mean? And then ask yourself, how do I feel? Take full responsibility for your emotions and then decide, how do I want to respond? How do I want to be in this moment? What result do I want to create? Trying to change someone else, how they think about you, what they feel about you, isn't just ineffective, it's unnecessary. You don't need them to change for you to feel better. This doesn't mean you shouldn't have a conversation. Maybe you want to have a conversation with your child and explain why you've set this limit on their electronics or the curfew at this time. But before you do that, make sure you're coming from an emotion that serves you. If you're approaching them with defensiveness, resistance, frustration, you'll create a result that doesn't serve you or them. But if you find your way to compassion, if you find your way to love, the entire feeling, the energy, the emotional signature of that interaction shifts for both of you. And this is especially true in parenting. Your kids aren't always going to like you. They're probably going to be frustrated when you set a limit. And remember, that's okay. Your job isn't to control their emotions. It's to be the parent you want to be despite their emotions, despite their behavior, to stay steady even when they aren't. So I won't wish for you to have a life free of people who dislike you. In fact, I hope you have a life where you have to deal with people who push back, who are frustrated, who don't like you, because that means you're showing up. That means you're having an opportunity to become more compassionate, more loving, more kind. You're being the parent you want to be. You're bold enough to let people have their opinions and not let it stop you. Not let it stop you from being the human you want to be out in the world, not letting it stop you from being the most kind, compassionate, loving, firm, connected parent you want to be. So go out there, y'all. Go out there, live your dreams. Make your parenting dreams come true, make it happen. And remember, there's always going to be someone who doesn't like what you're doing. And that's okay. All right, that's what I got for you today. I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye. Thanks so much for listening, you all. If you are ready to learn more about Connect Method Parenting, if you've been listening to the podcast and you think, ooh, I'd love to be able to implement this in my life and with my parenting more, then check out Pivot. It's my 8-week program where we deep dive into learning and implementing Connect Method Parenting so that you can take this information and transform your parenting journey. Head over to connectmethodparenting.com to find out when the next group starts.